chapter of One Piece came out, and I gotta say, I thought it was a really, really good chapter. Primarily because we have Reiju without pants in the chapter. You're lying to yourself if you're saying, "Oh, she doesn't look that good." Like, what are you talking about? Fuck you. No, she looks really good, and that's what made the chapter for me. No, but in all seriousness, we do have like Bartolomeo in the cover page there, and overall, I think what really makes the chapter really good, aside from the pantless Reiju, is the fact that we learn more about Big Mom. We see that she's finally been able to capture, or at least, immobilize Brook to the extent that she could actually sort of caress him and pet him. Very, very weird things going on there with Big Mama. She's a lustful woman. I'll just say that. And we see that Zeus and Prometheus have gone back to their original states. They're happy and peppy and shit. And she actually makes it a point to say, "Hey, you did a good job with the like chess pieces or whatever, but you won't be able to defeat my man Zeus, my man Prometheus, and also my hat Napoleon, because they all have part of my soul." So these homies are like, these are the top dogs of the homies. And I kind of wish that we could have seen a little bit more of the fight. Not a lot, obviously, because then we all know it was going to be complete overkill, but just a little bit more than what we got. But then again, I also understand why we didn't get it. And it's because, for story purposes, Oda is saving up Big Mom's wrath and, her skills for whoever she ends up fighting that ends up defeating her in the end. So yeah, I mean, maybe not in this arc, but later down the road. And now, the biggest part of this chapter, at least the most important one for me, is the whole thing with Roger. I think that is fucking fundamental, crucial information that we can take away. The fact that she says, "I'm not going to let this happen again," as it happened with Roger. I'm not going to let anybody get to Raftel before I get to Raftel. That would just make me look like an idiot. And before that, the chess pieces inspect Brook, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, he wasn't able to get anything out of us, so there's no copy of the poneglyph, there's nothing here." But if you remember, Brook does have the ability of opening up his skull to store things in there. So one of two things, all right? I think this is just what's bound to happen. Either Brook managed to get the copy of the poneglyph and is currently storing it inside of his skull, or Big Mom says something really crucial. She says, it's a pain in the ass. This Roger guy came in here and he was able to read the poneglyph. And that's another thing that this chapter does that is super important, is that it introduces, different ways of people getting the information off of the poneglyphs, aside from, being archaeologists from O'Hara. So Big Mom says Roger was able to get the info because he can hear the voices of all things. And we don't really know what that ability entails just yet, but I do remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that back when they were in Zou, when Jack was attacking the elephant, the only two people that could hear the elephant speaking were Momonosuke and Luffy. And we know for a fact that Luffy is kind of like a parallel to Roger. They're not completely the same, but they have a lot of similarities. So I would not be surprised at all if the reason for why Oda decided to make Big Mom talk about Roger's ability in this chapter, the ability to hear all things, the reason why he reintroduced it in this chapter so that it's fresh in our minds as readers, is because maybe he's planning for Luffy to awaken the same ability in this arc, and so that way he can understand the message that's on the poneglyph and then go back and tell that to Robin. Also, Big Mom is old as fuck, which is something that we already knew. And I'm guessing Kaido is kind of around the same age as well. They were both dicking around. I'm assuming both of them were just going around before Roger became Pirate King. And another very crucial, in fact, I think it's the most important part of the chapter, is when Pudding comes in and she's like, "Hey Mom, what's going on?" And Mom's like, "Oh, I was just talking about you." So Big Mom was able to have what I hope were consensual sexual relations with a man of the Three-Eyed Tribe, and that resulted in Pudding, and Pudding therefore is a mix, which is why she's skeptical about awakening this power that Big Mom was talking about, which will allow her to hear the voices of all things. If not, then it's something similar. The point is that they may be able to read the poneglyphs a different way, aside from deciphering them directly like Robin can do. So this is really crucial, because now it's kind of like, okay, as long as you have the power to hear all things, or you have this weird psychic ability, we don't really need Robin. So that's kind of cool. And that's kind of like something that I was mentioning in my predictions for deaths, that if there is something that just completely stops Robin from being threatened, it's the fact that some other people in the One Piece world can decipher the poneglyphs. And it kind of seems like that's the case. I mean, Robin is still pretty fucking important, and she may still get captured. All I'm saying is that this chapter introduces the concept of being able to, you know, go around the obstacle of reading the poneglyph directly. And I'm pretty sure that Kaido has that knowledge as well. Another thing that I thought of was that this may introduce a conflict between Pudding and Big Mom later down the road if Pudding gets tired, or if she finds out that the only reason why she matters to Big Mom in the first place is because she has that third eye lineage and she's basically a tool. You know, this kind of reminds me of Naruto, where like the only people who can read the tablet in the Uchiha basement are people with like the Sharingan. Then we got Pedro versus Tamago, which I thought that was really good, like from a creative standpoint, you know, because this is classic Oda, just pulling out weird ass fucking abilities and incorporating them into the series. We got like this 3-stage transformation from Tamago. And by the way, this kind of raises the question, is Tamago a Paramecia or is he a Zoan? Because we have like Baron Egg, that's his base form, I guess. Then we have, Viscount Chick, and then the final third form is Count Chicken. So with that in mind, I do kind of get the feeling that this is the part that was kind of rushed for time reasons. Like the editor said, we got to pick up the pace. I really do think that if this had been like a normal pace chapter, this part would have been lengthier. We would have gotten a longer fight. Because the transformations, like for Tamago, we don't really get to see much of them. Everything happens super freaking quick, right? And then you have this explosion, and I'm like, wait, is Pedro actually suicidal? What the hell's going on? And we do get to see like Count Chicken, but he's just like he just like flying off. Pedro was actually not suicidal. He just had a plan because he saw Carrot and Chopper in the mirror world. And now this is really good for him because now everybody's going to think that he did commit suicide and that he's dead. So I don't think they're going to be looking for him. And now they're in the mirror world. And by the way, like I love Carrot's drawing. They all look like Cavendish. Like, you know, just like, I think like the style for Sailor Moon. And actually the mirrors do recognize Nami. And I think that's the first person that they're going to come in contact with. I think they're going to run into Nami and Jinbei first. And like Chopper said in the chapter, the mirror world is basically like this pretty good fortress, this safety bubble for them all, because nobody can go in and out of the mirror world without Brûlé. So I think that's going to play a crucial part in them like getting the hell out of there, if that's what they decide to do. Although by the end, like Sanji's just thinking that, I think that what he's thinking is like, Luffy, I have to stay. There's no turning back now. So what I think is that he is going to try and save, if not the Vinsmokes, he's going to try and at least try and save Reiju's life from you know, the bloodbath that is coming up in the morning. Now, Luffy jumps out of the window to wait for Sanji in the spot where he said that he was going to wait for him. And it was a really cool moment where like Reiju, I mean, he pulls him in. And by the way, before that, like these people are calling for reinforcements. And I said that in the previous review. I'm pretty sure they're going to send in Smoothie to try and deal with Luffy. Not Smoothie, sorry. Katakuri, Starch. I think Commander Starch will be revealed soon. Because they're asking for reinforcements up the ass. They told them, like, we can't deal with this guy. So Reiju pulls Luffy into the room. And then there's one scene where, like, she literally, like, Luffy's stomach is growling. I mean, this guy is super fucking hungry. And Reiju's like, would you like to eat something? And Luffy's like, no, because I promised Sanji I wouldn't eat anything that didn't come from his own hands. And so that's why he goes back to the spot. And Reiju kind of finds that endearing. And there's another part where, like, Luffy says, you know, oh, the people in the Baratie are in danger. Well, if I have to, I'll go back to the East Blue if I have to save them and protect them, which is very touching, but it literally makes no sense. I mean, do you honestly imagine, like, at this stage in the series that they decided to just U-turn out of there and go back to the East Blue to protect Zeph? No, that's not happening. The threat will be dealt with in this arc. I guarantee it. Otherwise, Sanji will not feel comfortable leaving. And not only that, but I really truly believe that Sanji's kind of code as a gentleman will kind of require him to stay in order to try and you know, help Reiju from, you know, getting killed at the wedding tomorrow. You know, I really do think that that's what's going to happen. He's going to stay. And this is just a matter of talking things out with Luffy, because I'm pretty sure Luffy will agree that, yeah, we'll protect your sister, Sanji. It's not a big deal. And speaking of Reiju, the color scheme for the Vinsmokes has been revealed. We got the new cover for the newest volume of One Piece. And a lot of people are making the obvious Power Ranger comparison. A lot of people didn't have, you know, they didn't like the color scheme all that much because, you know, they did kind of seem a little bit like, you know, part of a circus trope, but I actually really liked it. I think the problem was that we just got used to them being blondes or picturing them as blondes, and now it's kind of, whoa, look at all this color in the Vince Milks. But it was kind of an interesting experience to try and picture Reiju with pink hair in this chapter for the first time. So that's it for me. Again, I thought it was a really good chapter. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below with your thoughts. Catch you guys later. Thanks, bye.